We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Would you look what happened? Can you believe what happened? I want to know who Joe Biden voted for. That's what I need to know. You think Joe Biden voted for Donald Trump? I think it's a distinct possibility. Donald Trump, they're still hemming and hawing, aren't they? Oh, no, we still haven't counted one county in Nevada. It's over. The news media died a slow and awful death last night. They're still trying to figure out what happened. Wait a minute, Hitler won? The fascists have taken over? The Nazis? Oh, no. What are they going to do, secure our border and create cheap gas prices and fill our grocery store shelves with delicious foods at reasonable prices like the United States of America? It's pretty wacky. That's for sure. Well, happy Wednesday morning to you, one day after Election Day. And we did have an Election Day, and it turned out to be pretty darn cool. I don't know how many of you stayed up good and late until the big news rolled in, the good news rolled in. Extraordinary things happened yesterday, and Donald Trump won back the presidency, maybe despite the fact that he was so vilified and demonized by the crazy American left, and maybe in part because he was so demonized and vilified by the crazy American left. This morning I was watching, because I knew you probably wouldn't be, I was watching Morning Joke. I hit the DVR on Morning Joke on MSDNC. And what a mentally ill circle fest they're having over there. First of all, everybody was dressed like it was a funeral. Did you see Mika? She's dressed all in black with a black woolen scarf and black. Looks like a death in the family. And just amazing stuff that the entirety of the news media, they died last night in a closet by themselves of autoerotic asphyxiation. They have lost all credibility. They are gone. They are over. If you believe anything that NBC News or the Washington Post tells you, then you shouldn't be allowed to vote or drive a car. You should have maybe a photo ID, government issued, but because you might need one everywhere you go, but not a driver's license because you're a menace to the public roadways. It's an amazing day in America, and President Trump. When did President Trump come out last night? 2:30 a.m., about 2:30 a.m. Even I had gone to sleep by 2:30 a.m. I was up till 1:30 or 1:45 and then got up more or less at my usual time. And enough about me. What an amazing event it was yesterday. And the news media told us, well, that's not going to happen. And he's Hitler and he's a fascist. And then they shot him, grazed his head with a rifle bullet and trying to assassinate him and so on. Tried to assassinate him at least twice during the campaign season. And you notice how that really didn't become a big part of the daily telling of the story of running for the presidency because he's just a Republican and a Democrat. Sure, tried to shoot him in the head. What would you expect? He's Hitler. He's a fascist. He's a Nazi. And the rhetoric of the Democrat Party, as presented to us overwhelmingly by the Democrat media, but Kamala Harris did call him a fascist, because the New York Times called a former Trump chief of staff who never liked Trump, not really cut from the same cloth, you know what I'm talking about? And they dialed up the rhetoric to crazy land, and they fully expected that Donald Trump had to lose. He had to lose. There is no way he's going to win because they ran this sustained campaign against him, and they have all the power in the world, right? Well, unfortunately for them, this masturbatory autoerotic asphyxiation in a closet thing has taken their lives. And the pollsters should all pack it up and, move to Ukraine or something, because they shouldn't be hired by anyone ever again anywhere. Remember just last week, the vaunted Des Moines Register in Iowa, with their great pollster lady who's never been wrong before, about how Kamala Harris had pulled ahead in Iowa, and it's the first time ever, and it's huge, and it's a watershed event. Don't believe a damn word any of them say ever again in your lifetime until they. I was this morning texting with a friend. The news media should gather. The Washington, New York news media should gather on the Mall in Washington, D.C., and have a Jonestown-style mass self-immolation ceremony. I'll go down with cans of gas if they'd like. Remarkable stuff. Oh, speaking of which, did you see a guy showed up at the U.S. Capitol yesterday complaining about Palestine, and he was wearing many layers of clothing, apparently, of heavy clothing, even though it was like 75 degrees here yesterday. Showed up at the Capitol, drenched himself in gasoline, wearing layers of clothes, brought a couple of additional containers of gasoline, or what the police chief called accelerant, and he brought a torch, the kind of torch you might use, because a Bic lighter would go out when you try to self-immolate. But we had another, apparently, what looks like another Democrat self-immolator that showed up at the U.S. Capitol yesterday. He was stopped on his way in because he had a flare gun and a torch, and he drenched himself in gasoline and had a couple of additional gasoline things. Another Democrat was going to self-immolate yesterday inside the Capitol. A lot of them like to self-immolate. Honestly, you guys have a public ceremony down in the mall or something. You're Jonestown. Do you understand how close you are to being Jonestown? You remember Jonestown? A bunch of leftists from Oakland and San Francisco killed themselves in Guyana in South America. They were creating a socialist utopia down there, and then instead 900-something of them committed suicide, more or less, and remarkable stuff. But the news media did at Jonestown in this election season. They've done a mass collective suicide, professional, ethical, reputational suicide at a bare minimum. And they've committed not just for themselves career suicide, but for their profession, for the Fourth Estate, which is a tragedy because the proper function of our constitutional republic actually depends on a properly functioning and legitimate Fourth Estate news media. But they have done themselves in. They are done. They are toast. No, and if you're a Democrat and you woke up this morning surprised to learn what's going on in the country and in the world, congratulations. Ha, ha, ha. This is what you get for not listening to me and I'll say other people like me, but in particular me, and the amazing outcome of last night, of yesterday's festivities. Just extraordinary stuff, absolutely extraordinary. And I know that a lot of you were up late like I was watching, and like so many millions of people were watching the events, such goings on, honestly. Truly amazing. And we still haven't heard from Kamala Harris. She was having her, again, President Trump came out at his campaign headquarters with friends and his kids, and that Barron Trump, who's 6'10" and looks like he's 35, and I think he's a freshman in college, and he was there. Pretty amazing family. They're accomplished, unlike the Biden family, bunch of crackhead stripper knocker-uppers shaking down foreign governments, trading influence. And only if we had a news media, that covered that story, like they, covered the Hunter Biden laptop. You know how long ago that was? That was 4 years ago. And these people slow roll the nation on everything. The lie is so big that no one would dare to not believe it. Extraordinary stuff. So President Trump wins. Trump wins the presidency. Trump wins the presidency again. He won the presidency back. The first since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms as president of the United States. And the nuttiness from last night, and again, MSDNC this morning, they know what happened, and it's that the country is racist, irretrievably and hopefully racist. And now Latino men are racist, and black men are misogynist. They can't call them racist, so they call them misogynist. And they bring on geniuses like the Reverend Al Charlatan, who is an award-winning charter member of the so-called mainstream news media, which demonstrates in one grotesque person the decrepit nature of the American news media, the corrupt nature of the American news media. The idea that he's to be treated as an honored member of the Fourth Estate just shows what a disgrace the profession is. But in any event, President Trump won, and they're going crazy. You know, the usual suspects. They're going crazy. Trump wins 2024 presidential election. Breaking news from the left-wing Mediaite last night. Donald Trump wins second term in historic return to White House. ABC fake news. They're not celebrating. Trump celebrates victory. The American people have given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. So, mopping the floor with Kamala Harris. The Electoral College apparently 277. I mean, it's just completely crazy. And also winning the Senate, winning the United States Senate. And the House is still up for grabs because they're still counting. The Democrats were hoping that they'd be counting ballots for weeks because that way they can slow roll us and they can just find, to paraphrase a Georgia moment in American political history, 11,000 votes in Philadelphia, or find 11,000 votes in Madison, Wisconsin, to win Pennsylvania at the last minute, to win Wisconsin at the last minute. Did you notice how all the states that were last to report were also the states that were described for weeks as the key swing states that had to be won by Kamala Harris? And President Trump is winning and winning and winning. And the states Pennsylvania and Georgia, and the Democrats are slow rolling us on Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin. Oh, we may not find out. And I'm hearing from the news media last night, as I was a week ago. Well, it may take days. It may take weeks before we actually have the results from Pennsylvania, which will determine the winner of the presidency. And President Trump's red wave, the red wave finally materialized. And here it is. President Trump's red wave taking the Senate away from Chuck Schumer. The Lizard King loses his position. And now who will be the Republican leader? Will it be the turtle? I don't think so. I think it can't be the turtle. Speaking of which, Ted Cruz won handily in Texas. The Democrats went all in trying to defeat Ted Cruz in Texas. The Republicans winning all over the country, winning the Senate, winning this Senate seat, that Senate seat. It was an amazing thing to watch. And down goes Frazier, over and over. And Kamala, who was having her loser party at her alma mater of Howard University in Washington, D.C., where there were a great many people that showed up to be a part of the celebration that wasn't, the celebration that never materialized. And then the news media, again this morning, saying the reason she lost is because Latino men are misogynist and racist. African-American men are misogynist. They can't call them racist, but maybe they will later. And that's it, just identity politics to the grave. Their deathbed, they'll be screaming about race, and they'll still be the racists in the conversation. Truly remarkable stuff. Also, a great headline. You know, the Democrats run the after-school Satan Club for the kids, and they harvest the organs of 1 million kids here, especially young black kids. They harvest their organs. But here's the headline: witches, witches and warlocks. Witches report their spells against Trump aren't working. Quote, he has a shield. He has a shield. It's Democrat Party, after-school Satan Club, witches and warlocks, Satan worshipers. And President Trump last night talked about how he's on a mission from God, about how God spared his life because there is purpose waiting for him. And remarkable things. The subdued Harris headquarters. Dude came out late last night at Howard and said, you can all go home. Kamala's not coming tonight. And that's when you knew. That's it. Open the closet door and find the autoerotic asphyxiation has taken hold. Remarkable stuff. Man, oh man, people voting for Trump. The Democrats continue to rage on like the lunatics they are. the racism will continue as long as the Democrat Party exists. Time for the Democrat Party to go the way of the American news media. You're done. You're toast. Roll up the tents. Go home. And in case you were stressed out by yesterday's events, Georgetown University had a program for you. Got that coming up, too. We're at 888-630-9625. All right. Well, it's quite a day in America. And I'm looking forward to either a mass self-immolation on the Mall, Jonestown style, or at least Scream at the Sky Day. I want to have another Scream at the Sky Day so that they can parade their mental illness and we can identify them out in public again, which will be helpful, I think. How are your family members and, your people doing? Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Hack, calling from Bethesda, Maryland. Hack, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Washington, D.C. A great day for America, isn't it?
It is. It most certainly is. And, yeah, the bad guys lost.
I got two questions for you here. Since Saturday Night Live likes to recycle material, is this weekend, are they going to do the cold opening with the piano like they did with Hillary? Because that went over so well.
It's a very good question. What SNL will do this Saturday? It would be fun if they had a Jonestown thing and they're all lining up for Kool-Aid, and I think that'd be a good time. And
then the second question I had was, remember the first of Donald Trump, the resistance wore the subdued safety pins to show his solidarity with whoever he was going to round up and send to the concentration camps.
Yeah.
Are they doing that again? Are they going to do that this time, or are they coming out with something new?
I hope they revert to the classics. I really do.
Yeah, because that did work. Because with that, nobody got sent to the concentration camps. So the safety pin seems to work.
Must have worked. Must have saved us all from the gulags. That's after all this rhetoric on CNN this morning, they were having a little circle fest with a bunch of wankers, and one of them said, well, gosh, a left-winger saying, well, we just need to see where it goes. And dude sitting there said, I'm sorry, weren't you just calling him a fascist a few days ago, and now you're sanguine about all this? That Hitler himself, you guys are calling him Hitler, and now he's won the presidency again, and you're just going to shrug and say, well, okay, no big deal. It reveals, in case you didn't know, that they were lying the whole time. They're just liars. It was quite a night last night if you were watching, following along at home, or wherever you were. A couple of friends weighing in from bars last night. Looked like fun. Looked like Martin's Tavern in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. was a Trump bar last night. Right in the heart of Georgetown, a classic old bar, tavern, been there since the 1930s. Great stuff. President Trump, according to all of the yada yada, we've got President Trump with 277 electoral votes. All kinds of funny stuff going on with the New York Times last night. They had a meter, a needle that they were following along during the course of the night. How close is they were hoping, of course, Kamala was going to win because they're a corrupt institution. But they later on in the night started saying, well, it's looking like Trump's got an 89% chance of winning. Then Trump's got a 91% chance of winning. And then Trump won, and people were throwing themselves from the rooftop at the New York Times in New York. It was very sad, a lot of casualties. Trump with 277 electoral votes, according right now to the Associated Press and to other news organizations as well, with Kamala Harris having either 224 or 226 electoral votes, depending on which news organization you're looking at. But President Trump, you need 270 to win. Of course, the presidency and President Trump winning the popular vote nationwide. And this has got him really upset because the left, they want to destroy all American institutions, including the Electoral College, including the Supreme Court, including the way we do everything, raise boys to be men and raise girls to be women. They want to do away with that. They've got a lot of issues, the Democrat Party. And Sherrod Brown, or Sherrod, if you prefer, Brown, the Democrat senator from Ohio, he lost. He lost last night, and that's kind of a big deal because what the heck? What happened there? Bernie Moreno, the Republican, won the Senate seat in the state of Ohio, kind of a big deal. Sherrod Brown losing, and it was a pretty decisive enough victory in the modern world. 50.2% for Bernie Moreno, the Republican, and Sherrod Brown, who's a 3-term Democrat senator from Ohio, with 46%. So that's practically a landslide in the modern world where you lose by 0.7 of a percentage point, and that's accepted. Pretty amazing stuff. Womp, womp, womp. I am telling you, the Pennsylvania battle, which the Democrats are still fighting because they're fanatics and they're going to find 11,000 more ballots. You know, they're going to, remember President Trump in Georgia said, it was 11,000 more ballots. And I got to tell you, I was texting with a lot of people during the course of the afternoon and the evening last night. And boy, do we have no faith and trust and confidence in our systems of government and our system for electing people and all that good stuff. Oh, pretty amazing stuff. Georgia poll worker. Got a poll. Is that a stripper, a poll worker? Georgia poll worker arrested for threatening to bomb election officials. Wait, a poll worker in Georgia was arrested because wanted to slow down the vote and all that stuff. Newsweek fake magazine has the story. They still make a magazine? Georgia poll worker Nicholas Wimbish, 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 got to be a Democrat if your name is Nicholas Wimbish, I think, has been charged with mailing a bomb threat to election officials and making false statements to the FBI. If convicted, he faces a maximum penalty of 25 years in prison. Wimbish, 25 years old, was arrested after allegedly making threats to target local election officials with explosives in a letter written to appear as if it had come from a voter that he had a verbal interaction with the previous day, according to a report from the Department of Justice. I remember the Department of Justice. I miss the Department of Justice. President Trump is going to have to clean out the Department of Justice and the crooked attorney general that we have. The FBI needs to just be scraped clean, and we need to start over again at the FBI. The intelligence community needs to be put under a microscope, and we've got to look at the likes of John Penitentiary face Brennan. Maybe we'll have Senate hearings now that Chuck Schumer's out of a job as the Senate leader. And honestly, we've got a clean house in the U.S. government. We've got a clean house in the media in the United States of America. We've got to clear out the liars and the frauds and the charlatans. Speaking of which, I've got some Al Charlatan for you today because he was on the TV this morning, and he's a racist. Boy, is he a racist. Just amazing stuff. So Wimbish was working as a poll worker at the Jones County Election Office October 16th when he allegedly had a heated exchange of words with a voter. He had a heated exchange of words with a voter. And according to the criminal complaint, Wimbish then researched online to find out publicly available information about himself. And the next day, he mailed a letter to the Jones County election superintendent purportedly from a Jones County voter. And he's threatening to blow people out. And let's arrest him. Now, if he were a Republican, this would be big news. And that's really all you need to know, that it's not big news. That means he's a Democrat. He might have to self-immolate before all is said and done. Speaking of which, we're happy that there was no self-immolation at the Georgetown University yesterday, which is good. The Free Press has the story, kind of an amazing story. at the Georgetown University. What does it cost to go there? Like $1 million a year, $80,000 a year or something. Send your dim-witted, spoiled brat kids to Georgetown University. Here's the headline with a picture of multicolored Legos in a pile. The headline is Legos, Cocoa, like Cocoa Beach, Florida, and coloring books for Georgetown students. At the McCourt School of Public Policy, officials are offering mindfulness options to cope with the election. The only thing missing is a blankie. It's a blankie. And great stuff. Fanny Block is writing the story at the Free Press. And at Georgetown University yesterday, said, it's election day. Are a bunch of spineless, gelatinous, useless, boring, idiot students are having panic attacks because it's election day. And they've been raised on a steady diet of this insane propaganda. Hitler, and I'm not sure they could tell you what century Hitler lived in, but never mind that. Hitler and fascism, the end of democracy, and this is what they're tube-fed. So then election day, by their Democrat Party masters, like the bullwhip crack and slave drivers that the Democrat Party's always been. So on Wednesday, the day after the election, most of us are going to roll out of bed, have our breakfast, and get on with our day, no matter which presidential candidate wins. But students at Georgetown University's McCourt School of Public Policy, where diplomats and policymakers are molded, have another option. They can play with Legos. Seriously. In an email to McCourt students, what's her name? Jacqueline Clevenger. That's her name. The school's director of student engagement, they have one of those, introduced the school's post-election self-care suite. They've got a self-care suite. In recognition of these stressful times, she wrote, all McCourt community members, it's always a community, isn't it? Community members are welcome to gather in the third floor commons to take a much-needed break. You know, these are not the people that stormed the beaches at Normandy and liberated Europe from the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, are they? I'd like to drop them near the beach at Normandy, but that's another discussion. So for a much-needed break, joining us for mindfulness activities and snacks throughout the day. This is called infantilization. You take adults and you treat them as though they're infants, babies, tiny, tiny children who avoided abortion. Just amazing stuff. 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., they've got tea, cocoa, and self-care. Self-care, does that involve touching? 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., Legos station. They've got Legos. These are supposed to be adults. They're old enough, most of them, to be serving in the Marine Corps in combat zones, but that's okay. Just amazing. From noon to 1, healthy treats and healthy habits. I think they're going to get that wrong, too. And then 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., coloring and mindfulness exercise. They have coloring books. 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., milk and cookies. Milk and cookies. You all need therapy. You know that, don't you? Just amazing stuff. 4 to 5, Legos and coloring. Don't get your crayons on the Legos, though, because they're somebody else's Legos. And then 5 to 6, snacks and self-guided meditation. That's more self-touching, I think. And that's at Georgetown University, major American universities. Just amazing stuff. I am telling you, they're really something. This is what you get. And yesterday, and this is a story that got no attention at all yesterday, Capitol Police arrest man with torchlighter, flare gun, attempting to enter visitors center, and he had drenched himself in gasoline. The police chief there on the Capitol said, he was wearing extra thick clothes. Beautiful weather yesterday. Extra thick clothes, and his clothes, they smelled of gasoline, flammable liquids. And he had one of these torch things. I don't know what you use them for, these torch things, like if you're a chef, to make creme brulee. See, I could say that, creme brulee, that's French. And he had one of these torches because he figured, he didn't have a Zippo lighter. Nobody's got a good old reliable Zippo lighter anymore. So you try to light yourself on fire with a Bic, and it could be hard, it might blow itself out or something. So he brought a torch. Looks like he was going to self-immolate inside the Capitol yesterday. Police will only say that he was a Kamala voter. That's about it. And he was complaining about Palestine. He had a manifesto, a lengthy manifesto, complaining about Palestine. Drove in from Michigan or someplace. Maybe he should have stayed there and voted because crazy stuff. Amazing stuff. Wow. So you were playing Al Sharpton there a minute ago. Al Sharpton, he knows why Kamala lost yesterday. He was on MSDNC. He's an award-winning 7-figure journalist in the United States of America. And this is the main problem we have. The most corrupt institution in America is the filthy, dirty, stinking, rotten Fourth Estate, the fake news media. Al Sharpton is an NBC News journalist, which couldn't be more absurd. It's like, Jeffrey Epstein as your babysitter, as your nanny. Just a man, Doug Emhoff would impregnate him. Amazing stuff. This is the Reverend Al Charlatan this morning.
There was a lot of gender bias in this. There was a lot of race bias in this. And I think that we thought a lot of voters were more progressive in those areas than they were.
Yeah, that's and it's really, I've got to say, a lot of gender bias and a lot of race bias, and it's all on you and your corrupt racist buddies.
Kamala Harris is a woman of color.
She is.
An interracial marriage, running as a woman to be the head of state.
What?
That is something a lot of Americans are not ready to deal with.
You're all racists, you see. You're all racists, and that's at MSNBC. They have Morning Joke. Morning Joke now, they changed the spelling of Morning Joke today. Now it's Mourning. It's morning because they're in mourning, and they're dressed in black. It's like a state funeral is going on there. But the whole country is racist and misogynist.
I think that we've got to be honest. Among Hispanic men and black men, there's a lot of misogyny.
Right.
And I think that we've got to deal with the reality that he appealed to this whole false macho thing that some black men and some Latino men went for.
Yeah, that's there it is. So you're Latino men, black men, you hate women because Al Sharpton says so, and MSDNC. Isn't it amazing? Let's grab a phone call, Michael. I can't believe how little time we're going to have today. Let's go to Jim calling from Ashburn, Virginia. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning. Since it's Wednesday, I was just wondering if Hillary might have a spare box of cheap New Zealand Chardonnay that she could share with Kamala. They could start a new club for people who will never be president of the United States.
That is a great idea. It is Wednesday, and that means it's hump day in the Clinton household. I don't think we're going to get to mailbag today because there's too much going on, but we'll try again tomorrow. That is a great idea, Jim, I've got to say. Should Hillary Clinton show up at the vice president's residence, which is a higher rank than Hillary Clinton ever held in the government. She was just Secretary of State, chief diplomat in a time when we bombed more countries than at any time since World War II. So I guess her diplomatic skills are not what they should be either. Amazing stuff. But she should show up at the Veep's residence with a 1-gallon cardboard box of cheap New Zealand Chardonnay so they can glug together. And you're right, they can start a club of women who will never be president of the United States. Isn't that amazing? That's a great idea. I should have thought of it myself. But you got there first, Jim, so you win. That is just great. What'd you say?
No, we're good. Have a good day.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks. I can't feel bad for Kamala. I bet she feels relieved. And here's a question for you. Who did Joe Biden vote for? Did you see Jill Biden show up at the polling place yesterday dressed in bright red from head to toe? MAGA red. She looked like she was voting for Trump. Did Joe Biden vote for Trump? Guaranteed Hunter Biden voted for Trump. What a country, what a world. We saved ourselves from them for now.
I'm doing okay. I won't lie. Chardonnay helped a little, too.
You know, my share of Chardonnay.
Which would you prefer, wine or coffee?
Let's try Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Time of the day.
Oh, what a day. What a day. Boy, I'm hearing from people. I'm hearing from some people I haven't heard from in years. Texting and shooting messages. Obviously, a great deal to get to. At MSNBC, the racist, anti-Semite, misogynist Reverend Al Charlatan blaming misogynist black men and racist Latino men because that's what they do. They're the Democrat Party. It's the identity politics hell that they've chosen to live in. Let's go to the telephones again. Michael, let's go to Dan, calling from Darnestown, Maryland. Daniel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thanks for taking the call.
You betcha.
So my question is, it's my understanding that the 17 states have passed laws requiring their electoral college delegates to vote in accordance with the national popular vote. And yet I don't hear any newscasters mentioning this. And that could have a profound effect on the actual final electoral college vote.
Well, of course, President Trump has apparently won the popular vote as well as of now, right? But the Democrats are going to keep counting and counting, aren't they?
Well, until they get it to their advantage, yeah.
Yeah, and I suspect that that if they do decide to, well, we're going to go and with our, like that, it'll end up before the Supreme Court, right? And this is our system of government. The Electoral College, by the way, creates equity and fairness and levels the playing field, which is exactly what the left does not want. And that's why they want to undo the Electoral College, do away with the filibuster in the Senate, pack the Supreme Court. It's almost, Daniel, like they're not on our side, isn't it?
Well, obviously they're not, but I still am curious why nobody ever mentions this fact.
Well, tell you what, let me do a scan and see if they're murmuring about it this morning. You know, I think a lot of what they do is just bluster, and they say, well, we're going to do this knowing that it's illegal and they can't do it in the end.